Good evening once more. It's Tuesdays with Mental Catalyst again, and thank you for choosing to spend another good evening with me. I hope everybody is doing well and they're as excited as they can be. Anyway, so last week's session was entitled The Arrow, and basically the highlights of that was, me taking a significant pay cut and getting a job that I actually wanted instead of staying in one that I didn't really like. And the lesson in there, or the moral in there, is that sometimes life may, throw you, a wrench or something like that, and you have to decide whether, it makes sense for you to take a dip or take a cut or take a detour to be able to get back to where you intend to go. So in my case, I had to take, a significant pay cut. And that also counts with obviously how your peers and loved ones around you also perceive you, because they know that people of your level at that time is supposed to be attracting certain pay package. So now when you take a dip, people may not normally understand and be very supportive of it. But sometimes you know what is good for you, and if you truly believe in it, you have to stay with the program. So in my case, I took that cut. And fortunately, and God be on my side, I was able to get myself into a good consulting job where what I wanted to do, I found myself doing it, which is working with one of the top consulting firms as an IT consultant, Busan and Hamilton. So that's the title of the first session, The Arrow. Just, in reference to the arrow, what it means is that for you to be able to shoot an arrow, you have to pull it way back and then release for it to go. So that's the title, The Arrow. Today's title is Man on Fire. Man on Fire. Man on Fire. So we pick up from where we left off last Tuesday. So while I was working at Buzal, and I mentioned that I realized I was very, very nervous anytime we had to hold team meetings and I had to introduce myself and I had to present and stuff like that. I was very, very nervous and very uncomfortable. Even though technically I was good with my stuff, I think I had a complex just because of the kind of people I was around with at the time. So I decided to do something about it. So I heard about the club Toastmasters, Toastmasters International. Buzalen had a chapter, which I joined, and I took an office, Sergeant at Arms. That is the least ranking position in there. And I did that just to help me, always attend meetings and not make excuses. So I went in there and I actually told you guys last week about how my first speech, the icebreaker, was very, very painful, very challenging. But, I got it done, because normally it's between 5 to 7 minutes. So you go in there and you say what you want to say, and people review and tell you what you did well, what you didn't do well, and stuff like that. So, as the weeks went by, I kept on attending, the Toastmasters sessions, and in Toastmasters they have something called table topics. It's somebody, I think there's a table topics master, and they come up with topics to discuss. But normally you have it's like a question. You have like a minute or two to answer it. So you're forced to think on your feet. You don't really know the question in advance. So I found it very interesting, and I wanted to be very good at it, because I've always wanted to be in a position where, with a very little preparation, I should be able to speak with impact and, obviously with substance. So anytime there was table topics, I would ensure that I gave it my very best. But prior to this, in my senior year in James Madison University, I was part of a few guys who decided to form a social club. We called it Imoja, after the Swahili word unity, whereby we could actually bring minorities together and some of the Caucasians, and then let them know more about African culture and stuff like that. So obviously, since I was one of the key guys, I was at the forefront of that initiative. And I remember so well that our first meeting, we had a room full of, it was in a classroom. The classroom was so filled with so many students. And guess what? I didn't anticipate it. I didn't think that we're going to get so many people to come in. I wasn't prepared at all. So when I got a stage to speak, I froze. I basically froze. I could not speak. So my assistant, my deputy at the time, Eric, had to step in and then he stole the show. That was my first public humiliation. But I always knew that, look, I could talk. But what I didn't know was in a formal setting, in a social setting where you have everybody quiet looking at you, it's different from one-on-one, just talking. So I froze. So that scar, that wound, that defeat has always stuck with me. So when I heard of Toastmasters, I said to myself, well, you know what? I have to nail that. I have to overcome that. So as the weeks and the months, went by, I did my second speech, my third speech. But when I got to my fifth speech, entitled No Excuses, I still remember it. I don't remember too well the content of it, but the title was No Excuses. Strangely, that day, we had a lot of people attend the session, and the room was kind of like full. And I'm talking a lot of people, and you're seeing more white people than obviously black people in there. And after I delivered my speech, I think it was not more than 7 minutes, and I was waiting for the evaluation, everybody stood up and started just clapping. I got a standing ovation. And they just kept on clapping and smiling, and those who were, there was just so much positive energy in the room. And I was standing in front of everybody, and I was wondering, okay, what the hell just happened? This is not normal. I didn't know what to do. I didn't understand what was happening. Then it dawned on me that I had touched their hearts and souls with my message. And this was a room filled with people that most of them, to me, were superior. But then here I was, all of these guys actually listened to what I talked about, and it hit home. It hit home. I then realized that I had arrived. I spoke from my heart, I meant it, and all the things that I said were true, authentic, and it touched hearts. And when all of the guys stood up and just kept on clapping and applauding, I knew that was another manifestation of God's blessing. So now here I was as a guy who froze in, senior year, now actually getting a standing ovation from people that he felt inferior to. That was when I realized that, if you are determined, you're hungry, you're willing to put in the time, nothing can stop you. You have to identify where your weaknesses are and invest in overcoming them. And that's what I did. After that speech, anytime folks will see me in the hallways, they'll ask me, Michael, when are you speaking next? When are you speaking next? And I was like, okay, this is weird. But I realized that now I was getting people's attention. Naturally, I'm not the type who smiles. I always have this serious look on my face. But now if you're having people see in the walkways and asking, Michael, when are you speaking next? Of course, you can't have a serious face all the time. So then I had to start learning how to smile. So pardon me, I'm still actually learning how to smile as I'm doing this video, because I think I'm biologically deficient when it comes to smiling. I'm unable to smile. So now people be asking, Michael, can we record your speech and sell it? Can we record your speeches and sell it? And I'll say, no. Look, if we have to even do something with it, give it for free. I don't want to make money from it. So it dawned on me that, look, if all the things I want to do doesn't work out, well, I can become a motivational speaker. That was like, my worst plan B. But that was not something I was interested in. But my freshman year, I remember very well, I attended an event. And it was an event where Les Brown, the motivational speaker, came to hold a gig at James Madison University. And whilst I was in the crowd, I looked at the guy and I was like, this guy is good. This guy is good. It's good. And I always want to be like him. So there are times when you meet people, or you watch people, or you hear about people. And when you admire the things you do, you should always take a mental note and seek to emulate them. So when I got that standing ovation, it dawned on me that I was a little less brown, even though I'm nowhere close to less brown. But it gave me confidence. But what that also did to me was, you know what? It told me that, look, Michael, whatever I wanted to do, I could do it. So now here I was with the full confidence that, look, now I can speak and move crowds. So the next thing was, what was my move? What was I going to do? Remember, I said I was going to do 10 years in America, do an undergrad, master's, set up a company, work, set up a company, and then come back. So I've done undergrad. Now the next, started working. The next thing was what? Do a master's. So I looked at a good number of programs in schools in the DC metro area. I looked at Virginia Tech, wanted to go there, but then I will have to leave the job to go. I looked at University of Maryland, College Park, George Mason University, George Washington, and all of that. But when I zoomed in on Johns Hopkins University, I was like, obviously, it's a well-renowned school, even though it's known for, medicine. It's still a solid school. So I said, you know what, okay, I think I like Johns Hopkins University. And they had a very good program also that fit what I was trying to do. So they have a program called Information Technology, Masters in Information Technology and Telecommunication Systems. So because I had a bachelor's in business administration, undergrad, obviously I wanted to do something technology to complement what I had done. So it made sense and it fit. But JHU, as a privileged school, is very difficult to get into. And with the hustle that I really, really went through with my undergrad, I knew it was going to be tough to get into Johns Hopkins with the grades that I had undergrad. If it was any of the ordinary schools around, I think I would have gone without any issues. But JHU was competitive, and I knew that was going to be a tough one. But I still believed in it, and they had a good relationship with Booz Allen as well. So I applied. And I remember in my essay, I detailed why I wanted to go there, and I gave a reference. And the reference I gave was Gary Beatty, the director of admissions at James Madison University, the gentleman who helped me through the toughest times whilst I was there. So I applied, and then I was waiting for, whether they were going to admit me or not. So I remember getting a call from admissions office from Johns Hopkins University. And the lady was like, Michael, how are you doing? I said, I'm good. So, well, we have good news for you and bad news for you. We have, we're going to admit you on a provisional basis. And what that means is that you're going to take the first 6 courses, you can't get less than a B in any of them. If you do get less than a B in any of them, that means that you're out of the program. So what it means is that you got to get A's or B's or all B's, right? So I said, okay, no problem. For me, it was good news because I was like, you know what, now I have an opportunity to actually get in. And what I always needed in life is, look, I always needed an opportunity to go in and do what I had to do. So when we were about to get off, the call, she was like, Gary Beatty said very interesting things about you. And truly, the things he said about you were very instrumental in why we decided to also give you this opportunity. He said, Michael Amankro from Ghana, you're going to be proud of him, that he actually attended your school. He's going to be a great guy. I have never met a man who is as relentless as him, determined and focused. So trust me, Michael being part of Johns Hopkins University, he's going to leave a legacy. So remember how I talked about God places angels in our ways, in our paths? Gary was my angel. So when I was cleaning with Gary and scribing with Gary and all of that, he was observing. He was observing. He was observing. So now I get into Johns Hopkins University. I'm like, okay, now I'm in there, feeling all good and all excited and fired. At that point, remember, I've already done Toastmasters. I was on my way to finishing my 10 speeches to become a competent Toastmaster. Work-wise, I was already on fire because, I was just getting my task and jobs done left and right. Now, the next big thing to conquer was what? My master's. And now here I was with an admission. My brothers and sisters, I got 5 A's and a B in the 6 courses. And whilst doing them, I could get 100% in exams. High 90s. And I was like, Is this Michael, the guy who flunked his O levels? What is different? See, we all have it within us to be the best we can be. You just have to be hungry enough. You have to believe it. You have to know that, look, God has gifted you. I believed it. I held on to faith. I said to myself, I am going to be the best I can be. So yes, I could have gone to an ordinary, a B-level school, and that would have been it. But in life, always try to get the best you can get within your circumstances or your environment. So if you're in a village, go to the best village school. If you're in a village, go to the best village school. But always try to get the best you can get, because it makes a difference. So now that I had gotten most of the 6 out of the way, now it's like full stream, right? So now I started loading up on the courses and just knocking them out. Because at that point I was on fire. And all my plans were going according to plan as well. So the next question was, what's my next move? So while I was doing that at Booz Allen, I met a young, very nice guy called David Spellman. A very good brother. He was from the Caribbean. He was in the enterprise management team, and he was also part of the Johns Hopkins program. I told him that, I want to start a company, man. And at that time, outsourcing to India was the it thing. So I was like, I want to start a software development company. And I need somebody in India to sort me out. And he said, whilst he used to work in Saudi Arabia, he had an Indian friend. And he can connect me with a guy. So I asked him to connect me. He connects me with a guy. The guy's called Mirza. I speak to Mirza and I tell Mirza, I want you to leave Saudi Arabia, leave your job, go back home to Hyderabad, and start a company for me. This is somebody I don't know from Adam. We spoke. No documentation, contracts in hand. He leaves Saudi Arabia, goes back to Hyderabad to start our first company. And I named that company after my mother, Vivi Limited. Vivi Inc. Mirza went back to Hyderabad, set up Vivi Inc. I had one in the US, he had one in India. Sent him money, he fitted the place. We advertised, we employed people. And this was a guy I knew. I had no idea who he was. I didn't know him from Adam. That move, it's a move that transformed and changed my life. And I'm going to be telling you a lot more about it as the Tuesdays roll by. So as you watch this today, please know that you have the power, you have the gift and the blessings of the Almighty to be the best you can be. You just have to unleash it within you, but be what? Resilient. Yes, there are times when you can slack, but pick yourself up. Do not accept to be average or mediocre. There's no place for that. I'm telling you because I have done it. I don't consider myself a genius, somebody with a very high IQ. I just believed. And I challenged God. I challenged him. And he's never failed me. I'm a living testimony. I failed O levels. I went to Johns Madison. I went to Johns Hopkins. And I was determined to either go to Harvard or to go to Wharton, go to MIT or Stanford or Yale. I'll tell you about that as the Tuesdays roll by. Until then, please stay safe. I love you guys and keep being the best you can be. Take care. Bye-bye.